Welcome to the FearHEART Podcast, part of FearHEART's nonprofit mission to support haunters and immersive artists. Each episode will talk news, stories, and happenings from haunted attractions of all shapes and sizes. Join us if you dare, because in this house, haunted entertainment is art. Hello and welcome to episode 2, everybody.
We've made it to 2 episodes. Let's go.
Woohoo! Well, in case you've forgotten, I am Christy.
I'm Jeremiah.
And we are the FearHEART Podcast. This week, we are going to talk to Jeremiah about some of his experiences creating and building haunts. I'm really excited to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's cool to be a guest on a show I co-host.
It's new awesome territory.
Yeah, I know.
Well, before we get there, though, I do have one short disclaimer. I am actually recording this podcast in a parking lot. I am currently driving from Vegas to LA, so I have stopped in at a very large gas station that some of you may or may not be familiar with, called Eddie World. That its shtick is that there's a whole lot of candy involved, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you go in there, it's like a 9-year-old's playground.
Oh, wow.
It's just like bins and bins and bins of candy. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But so I'm going to, on the editing side of it, take out as much background noise as possible. But if you hear for a few birds chirping or a car honking every now and again, that's why.
Well, hopefully it's those noises and not the sounds of, violence and chaos. So.
It's still pretty early over here. And
oh, that's right. There is a time difference. I forgot about that.
Yes. Yeah. The sun is still up on this side of the country. So
at least you can see your surroundings. That's good.
Yes. Yeah. So I should be good. If not, you know where to send people.
Yes. Everyone make a note just in case.
So, with that, I do want to introduce a brand new segment to the podcast, and that is called Who Are You Wearing?
Getting fancy up in here.
Exactly. So the idea of this segment is that Jeremiah and I will podcast wearing a piece of merch and or something else that represents a haunt that we adore or a haunt that we want to talk about, and that we will take a few moments at the beginning of every episode to talk about those haunts that mean so much to us. So Jeremiah, who are you wearing?
So to start off the very first time we're doing this, the first segment, Ominous Descent.
Ooh, nice choice. Yes.
Which, for those of you who might not be local to Florida, is a local Florida independent haunt, and one of my favorite haunts to go to. Not even just because it's such a good haunt, but the people that create it are very great people. And I am more than happy to support them in any way, but they're some of my favorite people in the haunt industry. And yeah, just it's a great haunt. I got a black hoodie with the Ominous Descent logo in pink. Usually they do like a black and green kind of theme, color scheme, but one year they had black and pink, and I was like, I want that, so I bought it.
I love it. Did you get to do their Christmas event?
I did, yes. It was so much fun.
I didn't get to go this year, so what was it like?
It was similar to their Halloween event, but they did change quite a bit of it, and there was lights everywhere, and the cool thing about that is the lights kind of helped to disorient you, so you'd be going through one room with Christmas lights everywhere, so it was very bright, and it would kind of bring your guard down, so to speak, and you kind of get comfortable again, and then the next room you go into, it's pitch black, you can't see what's around you, and then it re-brings your stress into everything, so it was kind of cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and the night that we went, it wasn't necessarily cold, but it was kind of like a cooler fall night, which is pretty rare for Florida, but the fog machines were sitting pretty, the fog was sitting pretty thick. It wasn't really moving anywhere. And there were times that we would go through and we could barely see our hands in front of our face going through the haunt, which made it even more scary. So
I am wearing a t-shirt from All Saints Lunatic Asylum, which I chose this shirt to wear today because I am planning a visit out there for their Valentine's haunt on Saturday. So All Saints is one of my favorite Southern California haunted attractions. And they're really unique in the sense that their whole shtick is that they are a, like, quote unquote working asylum that occasionally opens for seasonal tours. So
that's cool.
It's really cool. So the way that it manifests that is that, like, you know, the scenes themselves, the set pieces, the whole maze stays pretty static. Like, you know what to expect, but you also know what to expect with the characters. And you're seeing these characters all throughout the year. So All Saints, yes, they do a spooky season haunt, but they also open up for Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter. I've done a whole Easter egg hunt through that haunt.
That's cool.
Yes. And it was legit. Like, they legitimately had eggs hidden in every single scene, and you would, like, pick them up and take them with you. And inside were little prizes, like spider rings or bunnies with angry eyebrows drawn on. It was so cute.
That's awesome.
So awesome. And then they also do every Friday the 13th, the Boogeyman visits the asylum, and they open up for a Friday the 13th haunt. So, I adore All Saints. I've been there for, this last Christmas, the last few Christmases, I visited their holiday haunt, and they had, like, a big snowball fight in the lobby.
Whoa.
And then I'm really excited to see what they do for Halloween, especially since, not Halloween, Valentine's Day, especially since this Valentine's Day weekend is also a Friday the 13th. So I'm very excited to visit them in just a few days.
It's 2 for 1.
Yeah. Okay. So a quick update before we head into talking to Jeremiah about his experiences more in depth into your experience. I do want to let you know and everyone know, my nerd update, that our paperwork has been officially filed with the state of Florida. We are incorporated.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So what does that
quick.
mean?
1 week?
It was actually, because I sent it in like the middle of January, and here we are, and we're official. So what that means, for those of you that may not know, is that we do exist. We're a nonprofit that exists now.
Hell yeah.
That is really exciting. However, I still can't fundraise. And we still can't call ourselves a 501c3, because those are two separate pieces of paperwork that I could not submit until we were incorporated. So now that we're incorporated, I've already started on those applications.
Hell yeah.
But
that's crazy though.
I know. It's like
small wins.
It's so many steps to get it going.
Hey, but you know what? We're almost halfway there. So.
Exactly. Almost.
Yeah.
But we exist, and that is really, really exciting. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
With no further ado, Jeremiah.
Hello.
You were once a part of a haunted attraction that I really enjoyed in Florida called Morrow's Nightmare.
Yeah.
And I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, I wasn't just a part of it. I helped create it, which was really interesting and lots of fun. Some bit of stress, mainly more stress than fun. But
can you explain what Morrow's Nightmare was, like the structure of the haunted attraction?
Yeah, we were basically just like an outdoor trail, sort of, kind of, because we also had some things in tents, either halfway in a tent or just fully outdoors. But we were also located on a pumpkin patch as well. And that was one of the things that made us the most unique, because you could go and shop for pumpkins and all that kind of stuff, just like your typical like pumpkin patch. And then you could also have, the haunt related stuff, which we kept the patch open during the day too. So like it was a really good way to help promote the haunt at the same time. But during the day it was a pumpkin patch, and then at night it turned into the haunt itself.
And there were a few different attractions involved, right?
Yeah, we were a little too ambitious, I think. we had 4 different trails technically. And I say technically because I'm sure we'll get into some of those later on, but we did 4 different trails plus a little common area, midway area, as well as a separate little photo booth trail area that was like all included in like the ticket with the haunt.
Tell us, like, what was well, you already kind of dipped into this a little bit, but tell us more about, like, what was your role in the inception and then the building of the attraction?
Yeah, in the beginning, creative director. So basically what happened was not only were we like doing this for the first time, but we were doing it for the first time in like peak COVID. So like this was like 2020 that we opened up. So obviously we were still pretty much into a lot of the craziness. Things were only like had only been open for like I think 3.5 months at that time, like reopened. So we still had a lot of like creative like obstacles to get through and things like that. So early on, I was creative director, just coming up with ideas and things that we wanted to try and do. And then when it came to build, I was doing scenic design, you name it, I was in there doing it. Like it was pretty much everything. And then during the operation, I kind of took the role of like ops manager, basically overseeing each of the different trails, making sure everything was operating properly, people were getting pulls through properly, all that kind of stuff.
So talk to us about the 4 trails, because as I remember it, one in particular still stands out to me as like a really unique idea that I really enjoyed.
I think it's so funny. I think I know what train you're talking about, which is the one that I'd say was technically a trail, but not like an event or a haunt, but not really. And it's always the one that I always love talking about because it wasn't my idea, and I always love getting people's thoughts on it. But I'm gonna save that one for last.
Okay.
So the 4 like main walking trails that you can go through was called Vampire Junkyard. We had Clowning Around, which was a clown theme. And we had Stitch Nightmares, The Witch's Swamp. Mm-hmm. So Vampire Junkyard is basically what it sounds like. We kind of turned an outdoor trail into a junkyard as best we could. And it's basically vampires have taken over the junkyard itself. You're walking through and you're being attacked by vampires. We had like metal music blaring through it, which was a lot of fun. We had lasers. All kinds of cool different like bits of junk and stuff laying around. I don't know if many people saw it. We did actually kind of have like this manual prop that we would have like go over a fence that looked like a giant vampire, and it would like try to bite you from above. Yeah, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. And I don't know if I ever told you this, but this is the last 2 weekends of the event. I decided to scare act because I hadn't scare acted in a while, and I scare acted in the vampire house and with a really good friend of mine, and it was a lot of fun. And we were destroying people and doing things that we probably shouldn't have, but it's a lot of fun. So it was vampires over in a junkyard. I had a really cool concept for that too that I really wanted to do, but we couldn't really get it figured out. It's very unfortunate. There's a lot of things actually in that specific trail that we wanted to do that we just couldn't make work or didn't have the time for. So maybe we can get into that at some point too. But
yeah,
our next trail was Clowning Around. It's also kind of what it seems, just clowns inside of a trail. This one was half in a tent and half like trail. The main tent area, we had like these giant inflatables that were like clown themed that would like kind of tower over you. We built like a ticket booth, a little midway area that you could walk through. But my favorite thing that we did, which we tried to incorporate into the trail itself but realized it would be a bad idea, was we put an inflatable obstacle course in the haunt itself. And originally we were going to have guests go through it and then realized it's probably not a good idea, and also not everyone can do that. So we put it to the side, made the trail go around, and we put an actor in there. We also had a really cool effect that I liked, that was like a laser swamp, but it was a tunnel instead of a swamp. So you'd walk through like basically 4 different walls. You had the laser above you, 2 to the side, and then obviously the trail under you.
I'm really disappointed that the inflatable course was not part of it. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah. If people could behave, I think it would have been. We would have done it. It would have been fun. I mean, looking back at it too, we probably could have made it like a, pick your path kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have enough people to, like, man it, to watch it, make sure people were actually doing what they were supposed to. So
that makes total sense.
Yeah, it's the crappy part about it. But the laser tunnel thing was actually really cool. I love that a lot too, because that was something I had never seen done before, because we put like walls on the side of you that were lasers too, and then obviously above you. So that was
that is so
a lot
cool.
of fun. Yeah. We had Stitch Nightmares, which was kind of themed to like a witch in a swamp. We used lots of laser swamps for the haunt. It's like one of my favorite effects, so we had to use as many as we could because they're very effective too. And can like cover a lot of space when you need a lot of space covered that doesn't necessarily need a lot of theming. But this was our longest trail. And it was very like Blair Witchy almost. We had a bunch of those, like, I forgot what the actual technical name is, but like those carvings, or not carvings, but like sculptures out of sticks and stuff you'd see like in the Blair Witch. Like all over the place. We had a bunch of twine and stuff that goes basically this witch that was trapping you as soon as you entered into the swamp by stitching you up and all that kind of stuff. And we had some very big ambitions with this one as well. We wanted to build like a sunken dock and stuff that was inside of a laser swamp. Unfortunately, that just turned into being a laser swamp. And then we had another animatronic, manual animatronic at the very last part of the house, which was a bigger laser swamp, and then that ended up not working either, so had to cut that.
I remember that one though. Like I remember the stitching in the walls of the attraction, and like I remember like that one was a lot more open, I think, than the other two were, right?
Yeah.
So it was, you had the Florida humidity adding to the atmosphere of the bayou theme. Like I remember it, like even though there were a few things that didn't pan out, like it was memorable.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the darkest trail because we only had it lit by like little tiny tea light candles and a few lasers and like, pin lights and all that kind of stuff. It was the longest trail, and it was the one that was strictly just all in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all inside nature. And it was the one that I had worked on the most in terms of like building wise and theming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of it's a little special to me, but and then our last experience, we'll call it an experience, maybe not a trail, that we did was something called the Dark, which people either really liked or thought it was the dumbest thing they'd ever seen in their lives. And basically, I'll get your opinion on it later, but basically it was a small tent, and by small I mean like I think it was like a 30 by 50 just basic white tent that you'd see in like a fireworks stand or something like that. And we had 0 lights in there. All you did was like a U shape. Basically you walk in, you take a right, you make another right, and you walk out. And then in the middle of it, we had like a puppet that an actor would trigger as soon as a guest would walk into a strobe light, which we had triggered on a motion sensor. So basically all you're doing is walking into this tent in complete darkness, pitch black, by yourself. We tried to make it to where only one person could go through at a time. And then if people refused, then we would let them go in with their party or whatever. But the idea was to like, you have to go in by yourself. If you go into the tent by yourself and all you see is pitch black, you don't see any actors, you can't see anything, you have to find your way through. And then that was it. And you hit the motion trigger for the strobe light, and then the actor would move the puppet. And that was all we had in there. And people either really thought it was the coolest thing in the world because it was like a mind fuck, so to speak. It really messed with your stress, because you don't know what to expect. Then you walk in, you don't see any lights, and your brain is filling your your thoughts are filling your brain with all kinds of different things that could be coming at you, and it stresses you out. Or you walk in, you're like, what the fuck is this? So it was a hit or miss. It was not my idea, but the majority of people that I think I've talked to thought it was cool.
I honestly, I really, really loved it, because there's not a whole lot of things that legitimately get my heart to like pound out of fear and disorientation anymore. Like, I can get startled, sure. Like, there's like, if there's the right jump scare in the right time, especially if I have a phone in front of my face, I'm like, I can be jump scared, I can be startled. But to walk into a haunted house and to have that like nervous system response of, oh crap, like what's about to happen to me, that, you know, that doesn't happen anymore. When you go to haunts all the time, like, you lose that.
Yeah.
But the dark did that to me. Because as soon as you walked into the tent, and like you said, it was pitch black, we couldn't see anything. I think another girl in my group refused to go through alone, because I did end up going through with 4 of us. There were 4 of us in the group. So we were like holding on to each other, but I still like as soon as I walked in and I couldn't see anything, like my heart started pounding, you know, like palms start sweating. It's like you get that like nervous system reaction.
Yeah.
And that's what I miss that. So for me, I really loved it. And I thought it was, you know, yes, it was simple, because like you said, there was the one puppet and then you go. But I thought that was kind of the beauty of it, is it's, you know, what's in the dark.
Yeah, and it's usually people's minds that scare them the most, because they don't know what to expect. They have all these different thoughts rushing through their head, so it can be very effective, honestly. And it would work on me too, to be honest.
Yeah.
And if we were to do that again, we have found one that was also like a really just a rush job. Basically, we had to get it done as quickly as we could, and that was the quickest way to do that. But there's definitely ways that I think it could be enhanced even more, in terms of like not just being pitch black, but also being pitch black and having other things that you can do to scare people. So
yeah,
if it ever happens again, we have new ways to make it worse.
So, okay. You say, if it ever happens again. Am I allowed to ask why it didn't happen again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was nothing like crazy or bad or anything like that. You know, we're still, you know, super great friends. One of my best friends. But it's mainly just because of the land that we were on was being leased. And then once that lease got bought out by a different company, like another company, a bigger company, who could obviously just buy it outright. That's basically what happened, is somebody else bought it, so we lost that land, and now the hard part is finding land that's big enough to be able to run a haunted attraction on top of a pumpkin patch, with also enough space for parking, and, you know, you name it, basically. So, and in Florida, it's really difficult to find land to lease stuff on. So that's the main reason why we weren't able to do it again.
I enjoyed my night at Morrow's Nightmare. I would love to see it return.
It still surprises me. It blows my mind that people say that they enjoyed it, because I'm like, did you go to the same place that I went to? To me, I just, I don't know, I judge it quite a bit, but it always surprises me when people are like, yeah, this was so much fun. I had some people tell me that they enjoyed it more than Hollow Scream, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, it's very nice to hear, though, because I'm like, I'm very self-critical, so it's nice to hear that people enjoyed it.
Well, tell us about like creating the concept of the houses, because you had these 4 vastly different attractions in their theme and in their storytelling and their aesthetic. Like, how did you pick those concepts, and then what was it like trying to draw out those stories and create those mazes?
Yeah, we kind of just tried to pick like the ideas and concepts that each of us liked the most. So this whole haunt was only created by like 4 people and only built by 5 people. And the main 4 that just came up with all the concepts was myself, my friend, his wife, and my wife. So these were all just kind of like ideas and concepts that we liked when we go to other attractions and stuff. So it was very inspirational, focused. I'm a big fan of vampires. I love vampires. I think we know this. Well, I know you know this, but you know my feelings towards vampires.
If anyone here is not from the Scream Pod audience, you will very quickly learn that Jeremiah loves vampires.
Yes. If not, you can look up something called Scream Pod, and then just search through those, and you'll know why I like vampires. So yeah, but I also wanted them to be very like unique and more like guttural, like just kind of like gross looking almost. And the idea of a junkyard, having vampires in a junkyard, was kind of cool. It just seemed like a good idea at the time, honestly. But then also have them like, it's almost like very 90s like vampire coded, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like having metal music playing or like that style of like vampire in terms of like how they look, that like 90s grunge look.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of easy to make it a junkyard because we just had a bunch of junk laying around. It kind of also came with the name, was the fact that like we can just throw a bunch of shit together and make it work, which is kind of what we did. And I wanted to do like a bit of a story behind it. Was we tried to like kind of incorporate the pandemic in a way, because at that time we had to have our actors wear masks whether they were indoors or outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
And because there are still some of the limitations and rules, and like if you're allowed to open a business or not, you have to have certain precautions. And so we had to find a way to use that into the story, because you're gonna have a house with vampires but they have to wear masks. Kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like, how are they going to bite you if they're wearing a mask? It's not so easy to just, poke your fangs through. So my idea that I really wanted to do was that the vampires had adapted and found a way to bypass having to use their real fangs to get blood out of people. They would use kind of like these metal teeth that would sink into the victim or whatever, and then it would suck blood through the teeth in through tubes, and the tubes would connect into like their necks or whatever, so that they could swallow the blood. So like, even though the vampires were forced to wear a mask as well to get, to bypass that, they'd use those metal fangs, and we were gonna have like masks with like metal teeth on there, and then we're gonna connect tubes to them, paint it with blood, put blood on the inside of them to make it look super cool. And then that just became too expensive and improbable. So
yeah,
we ended up having to, we still did the whole thing where we had them wear masks, and we like individually glued like metal teeth to the masks and stuff. So that was kind of like the main concept and idea for that one. There was so much other things too that we really wanted to do, like in terms of like scare wise, that we didn't have time for. We were going to put a slider in the house. That didn't happen. And I just really wanted to do a refrigerator scare, and I never got to do it. It's just a bit of a bummer. I just wanted to have a ridiculous scare where an actor would just pop out of a refrigerator that was like laying down like halfway, because I think it was stupid, and I feel like it would get some people. It would just be funny to have somebody pop out, but could never find a refrigerator, unfortunately. So
with the slider, were you not able to put enough space in the house to give the slider enough room?
Yeah, that was part of it, because we needed to use some of that stuff for egress and whatnot. And then because we had to like find a new way to like make it work, it kind of got put on a back burner for a bit, and then it was too far on the back burner to where we needed to get the house finished before we could open. So it just never got built, unfortunately. And go ahead. No,
I was just gonna ask, like, so when you were mapping out your blue sky list for your house, right, and how it was gonna look, did you write like a formal treatment, or did you like draw a map, or how did you visualize that on paper before building it?
Yeah, well, it was on paper at first.
Right.
Because we basically laid out the plot of land that we had, measured out our tents for the houses and stuff that we were going to use tents for, and then kind of built a layout based on like all of those measurements first on paper, and then once we got an idea for like some of the stuff that we wanted to try and do, the best like flow for like traffic and stuff too, because we didn't want, two houses that are next to each other kind of exiting in the same exit, because then it'd kind of get like a bottleneck and in terms of like spacing, and we were already using a small space as it is. Like, I know how small it was and how much we fit there, but
yeah,
it was not a big plot of land, right?
Yeah.
And then after we got through all those processes, then my buddy used like a programming site to kind of do a layout and a visual of like how we would like it to look, and then from there just went into the building phase and so on. But
I didn't realize that it was really just like the two couples that made this all happen.
Yeah, it was just four of us. We had one other person helping us build, and who would also like run the pumpkin patch side of the haunt.
Mm-hmm.
But it was literally just my wife, me, and our best friends, which are also happen to be another married couple, and my wife and her friend, or my buddy's wife. They were mainly they helped us with scenic stuff and painting and all that kind of set design stuff as well. But they also, during the event, did all the costumes, all of the makeup, a lot of the hiring stuff. They also helped us with auditions on top of, helping set decorate and paint and so on. And then myself and my buddy, who's also like the main person, who it was like under all of his stuff, essentially. So he's like the main creative guy. We did pretty much everything else: building, set design, concepts, all that kind of stuff. Like they also helped with the concepts too, and daily operations and running it and whatnot. So
how long did construction take?
I think not long enough. I think we started in, I want to say mid-June to late June, and had to be open by September. I think we did the first or second weekend of September, if I remember correctly. I think it was the second weekend because we wanted to go to Horror Nights that first weekend. So
heck yeah, priorities.
Yeah, so I think we opened the second weekend. And yeah, that was not enough time, because you got to think too, in Florida it rains every afternoon in the summer, and we were outdoors, so it kind of killed a lot of build time. We also had a really bad flooding issue on the plot of land that we had. So if we had a storm that dumped a lot of water, or a 2-day storm, then that also took extra days off of our build schedule, because we would just have a puddle of water in the majority of our build area. So
jeez, man.
Yeah, and it was literally just 5 of us.
Oh gosh. Wow.
Yeah. Don't know how we did it, but you guys, I'm telling you, I wish I would have taken a photo. You should have seen it the day before, like we were supposed to open, how just chaotic and full of junk that entire land was before anyone else got there for the media night. Oh my God.
It looked great at media night.
Yeah, but you should have seen it before, like hours before. It did not look pretty.
Oh my God. And weren't you guys struggling with... Wasn't there a big storm like right before media night?
Yeah, there was a big storm before that, and then, which we had a power issue.
Yeah.
No surprise. And then somehow, for media night, everything went flawlessly. And then the first night, we lost power. Like the actual opening. It was the very next night.
Oh,
and we lost power, and yeah, I think we even had to close early that night because we couldn't like figure out what was happening, and it was bad time.
Oh gosh, yeah, because I seem to remember that like the Midway area was not open because it was soggy, but like all the haunt stuff was open.
Yeah.
For media night.
Yeah, because the Midway area, we had it sitting on like a specific type of mulch or whatever, and it was just like. It was not enjoying the water. So
So what would you say was like the biggest challenge of the whole process?
probably time. I mean, technically money too. I mean, we went way over budget, a lot more than we spent a lot more than we wanted to. But I think, yeah, mainly just time. Honestly, it's a lot, like, it takes a lot longer to build that kind of stuff than you think, even if you're doing something small. And on top of not having much time, with it only being like really 5 of us building stuff, we could only get so much done in a day that it was not easy. A lot of late nights staying out building until like 1 o'clock in the morning, even in the dark, and then being up early the next day to kind of continue. It was pretty difficult. And it was also kind of difficult too to find people, mainly because it was still peak COVID, so not everyone was like super comfortable with having to work around people. Even though we were outdoors, it was still kind of difficult to find some like actors and operations people and whatnot.
Now, aside from the COVID complication, which was obviously, this was, like you said, this was in the midst of the reopening, so that was a huge complication. But aside from that, do you think it was hard to like locate spooky people specifically, or what else do you think played into that?
I mean, yeah, sort of, kind of. At the same time as like we weren't really like we were the only people that were doing stuff originally for in terms of like Halloween events and at that time during 2020, because at that time no one knew if Hollow Scream, which was down the street from us, was going to open because of COVID. Horror Nights had said they canceled, so there wasn't really a lot of people doing things for haunt related stuff. So even though there wasn't a lot of like, we had tons of actors to pick from, technically, from people that were working at Hollow Scream, finding them and whatnot or getting them to want to act, wasn't as easy. We all, like, all 4 of us who came up with the idea to build it, were all former actors from Hollow Scream as well. Mm-hmm. And my buddy used to build houses for Hollow Scream back in the day as well. So we knew people. It was just kind of hard to convince some of them to want to come over and whatnot. And then Hollow Scream said they were going to do stuff, which took actors away from us because they went back to go to HOS instead. And
right.
So that ended up being a bit difficult too.
But they were doing like the open air scare zones, right, at that year. So you guys were still right. The only ones doing legit mazes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, did anything... Well, and you've touched on this too, but like, what surprised you in both a good and bad way, maybe, about the whole process?
I think what surprised me, I guess, in a good way, is that it ended up being a success. And hearing people's like reactions, and the majority of them be positive, was surprising in a good way, I guess. Because I don't know, I didn't expect people to like it as much as they did, so I was very grateful for that. I think most surprising thing, like negatively wise though, or I don't know if I really had anything that was too like surprising in a bad way, aside from rain, I guess, and flooding. It was all pretty successful, to be honest.
If someone were to come to you and say like, oh, I want to open my own haunted attraction someday, like, how do you recommend that I learn about this process? What would you tell them?
Go to haunt trade shows, talk to people in the industry there. So like the biggest one would be Transworld, right? Mm-hmm. But there's also like HauntCon and a few different like conventions and things that you can go to that a lot of the haunt industry people will be a part of, or literally just go to an independent haunt and go to the people, ask for the people that made it, and just ask them those same questions. Tell them you want to open up a haunt, and a lot of the people in the industry are super friendly and are more than happy to like kind of give people tips and pointers and things like that. I don't know if I would consider myself like a good person to like, ask for advice on opening a haunt, because obviously I've done one before, but I know people that have been doing it significantly longer, right? For years, decades even. So I would say ask a independent haunt professional.
Yeah, but you're the one that's being interviewed right now.
I know, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think the best way is just try to network with other haunt creators, to be honest.
Awesome. Awesome. And is there anything else that you'd like to share about this experience that I haven't already asked about?
I think if anyone is interested in opening up a haunt, they definitely should. I mean, it was a really fun experience for me. I think one of my favorite things about the experience itself was one of the people that we had hired to work for us. It was the first time that they ever scare acted at anywhere, and now they've been scare acting at Hollow Scream ever since. And I think it's been 5 years basically, and they fell in love with scare acting and have been a big part of the community over for Hollow Scream and their actors and stuff. And that's been like one of the coolest things to see, that like we kind of like fed somebody's passion and obsession with the haunt industry. So
that is really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too. I'm glad that we were able to, fill that void and whatnot for them. So
awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, thank you all for listening to this second episode of FearHEART Podcast. Coming up next week, I definitely want to do a download of Valentine's haunts, both in Florida and in California, that are going on this weekend. So we'll hear more about what happened at those haunts later. But in the meantime, go to All Saints 13th, 14th, and 15th this weekend. They're the ones that I'm going to plug because they are the shirt that I'm wearing. But there's lots of others that are open in both California and Florida and all over the U.S. So look it up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, go support your local haunt.
Heck yeah. Heck, that's
Even
it. That's the way to say it.
Yeah.
Support your local haunt wherever they may be. It's important. So, all right, Jeremiah, do you have anything left to say?
I don't think so. Yeah, just thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week.